بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Let's get started bismillah with any questions that we may have. If there are any questions from the brothers or the sisters here in person, then we'll try our best to give them precedence, and if not, then we'll go what we have online bismillah ta'ala. This
question is concerning marriage. I had recently asked one of the brothers who handle the affairs of the women in the city, say of a particular man, about marriage, and he was saying that in order to get married to a sister there, you have to disassociate yourself with certain individuals. And he named the individuals he named were, I'm not going to mention their name, but they were from that particular masjid.
Okay.
So my question is there anything wrong with that, or just like tasbih or anything like that?
First question says, I want to get married. In the masjid in which I went or center, the brother that was in charge of handling the sisters' affairs, he put a requirement on me. In order for you to marry a sister from our center, our masjid, you have to disassociate yourself and free yourself, talk bad about such and such and such and such. And once you do that, then we'll allow you to get married from our masjid. Is something wrong with that? Is that his biyah, etc.? At the end of the day, the ulama of Islam, they say, they use a hadith, a famous hadith, a popular hadith, that says, إِذَا أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَكُمْ أَوْ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. When someone comes to you, and this person has good character and good practice of the religion, then you should marry them. You should allow them to get married. It's a well-known narration. It's a very long story about that narration, but that's what the ulama of Islam used to prove initially about the main ingredients and components of the man who should be married. Whether it's to someone's daughter, to someone's mother, to someone's sister, or to any woman or female that that man is responsible for. So therefore, deen and khuluq. So, if in the Quran and the Sunnah we have instructions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and or His Messenger sallallahu in order for you to have a good deen, you have to disassociate yourself from the people that we say that you have to disassociate yourself from. If we have that in the Quran and the Sunnah, then that's a great thing. You can't get married unless you talk about this one, unless you talk about that one. And if that's not in the Quran and the Sunnah, and that isn't the condition of allowing someone to get married to one of your women in the Quran and the Sunnah, then of course it can't be anything good that's not in the Quran and not in the Sunnah. So is that from the Quran and Sunnah, in which I point out and specify the people that you are allowed to befriend and the people that you're allowed not, or that you aren't allowed to befriend? Is that Quran? Is that Sunnah? Like this one, like us, and you cannot like this one, you can't like that. The generality of al-bara' wal-wala'. Al-bara'u wal-wala'u. Loving and hating, hating and loving. There's no doubt about that. The kuffar versus the Muslims. People of Tawheed versus people of Shirk. And among the Muslims themselves, there's wala' wal-bara'. But it isn't specific to one reason. Wala' wal-bara' could be someone is an innovator, someone is a sinner, someone is an evildoer, someone is a tyrant. Everyone understand this? So there's many, many reasons behind loving someone and hating someone. There are many reasons behind loving someone, hating someone. There are many reasons behind being with someone and not being with someone. But I don't think there's any Muslim in his right mind that's going to say that Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger has mandated and sent down specific instruction. In order for you to get married, there is a specific person that you have to hate and talk about and free yourself from. And we are those who give you that specific instruction. I don't think that's in the Quran and the Sunnah. And that's my humble opinion. I may be wrong. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is in the Quran and the Sunnah, but I didn't see it. So with that being said, if there's someone who makes stipulations like this, I wouldn't deal with that person. The general concept, we know you to be a good brother, you pray, you fast, inshallah khair, hey, bismillah. But no, there is a specific friend and a specific enemy that you have that's appointed by us. I wouldn't necessarily deal with that person. If that was me, and Allah Azza wa Jalla's earth is spacious, and there are many righteous sisters out there that are looking for husbands. And there are many brothers, and in my humble opinion, who are looking for good husbands for those sisters that don't put these types of specific instructions on people. That's all I'll say about that. And with the law is all success. Next question says, Assalamu alaikum. What advice can you give to someone when they feel their iman is slipping? They're having a hard time dealing with a situation that is causing them to slack in their studies, just doing the bare minimum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The advice that I give to you is to ride the wave. Alhamdulillah. Iman fluctuates. It goes up and it goes down. If you feel that your iman is slipping and slacking, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Oftentimes that's a good thing. And that's because something slips or something falls because it was in a high place. So you yourself know what your iman is supposed to be and where it's supposed to be. So the moment that you feel it slipping or getting low, that's not necessarily always a bad thing. That means that you're aware, and that means that you're conscious, and it also means that there was a time in which your iman was high, and you know that it's no longer at that height. So be it in the night ta'ala, whatever the fitna or the situation is, try to root it out. Why is my iman slipping? Why do I feel low? What is the cause? Is it an individual? Is it a place? Something that I used to do that I'm not doing anymore? I need to make hajj, I need to make umrah, I'm single. What's the problem? Root out the problem, seek Allah's help and rooting out the problem, and bismillah, move forward. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And everyone goes up and everyone goes down. And sometimes when you're going through something or a trial and a tribulation, it's not always best to immediately try to get out of it and stop it. Sometimes you have to let the thing pass through your system. It's like a cold. You just have to rest and keep your health at a basic, stable, maintained level, and allow the sickness to do what? Just leave your system. It has to come and it has to go. And Allah knows best. And obviously, when someone gets sick, they're very sick, they're only feeling sick because they're normally what? Healthy. So they know that something's wrong. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Allowing it to continue, allowing it to just fester and for you to just wallow in it, that's a different story. And Allah knows best. What does child custody look like when the mother remarries and the children are teenagers? And some are under 7. If a mother loses custody of her children, what does the situation look like? There are things which the ulama of Islam agree on, and there are things which they differ on. The ulama of Islam do not unanimously agree that when a woman gets married, the child has to go back to the father. The scholars of Islam, they don't agree on that. That's only one view from among others. There are details regarding how old the child is, even when the woman remarries. There are details with regards to who's the most righteous for the child, who has the most money, who's the most stable, who's the most responsible. And there are certain situations in which some ulama say that the child shouldn't go with either of the two parents. The child will go with a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle. It depends on who is the best caretaker for the Muslim child. And that's because custody is only one aspect of al-hidana. The word in Arabic is al-hidana. And al-hidana literally means when a hen sits on top of an egg, to incubate it, to look after it, to care for it. And after the egg is hatched, it's still not done. It has to look after the chick and feed the chick until the chick is strong enough, fast enough, smart enough to go and tend for itself and fend for itself. So now in Islam, it's not just custody, who's in charge, but it's guardianship and it's care. And sometimes that may not be the father. The mother may remarry, and the father may not be good for the child. The father may travel a lot. The father may not have enough money. The father may have a rough, turbulent lifestyle. The child may be too small. So there is no one black and white rule, unless it's based off of the view of that hadith, "Anti ahaqqu bi waladiki ma lam tankihi," that you deserve your son most as long as you don't remarry. The hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. That's one narration for one madhab. There are other views of the ulama of Islam. What's important is the scholars of Islam, they say this issue has to be returned back to someone. In the lands of Islam, there's the Qadi, al-Mahkama Shar'iyya, the Islamic court system. And in the lands of other than Islam, then perhaps go to an arbitrator, go to the masjid, sit down with the imam of the masjid, you and him, and talk. You bring your proofs, you bring your evidences, you bring your witnesses, and have a talk. What do you think? What do you think the child should go with? The imam may say, even though you're remarried, I think the children should stay with the mother. I think she can look after them better. You provide the money, you see them when it's time, so on and so on and so forth. The imam, he may say, I think the children should go with the father, or the son should go with the father, and the girls stay with the mother. Why can it? It depends. It depends on who the new husband is. What type of brother is he? Somebody that we know, a good brother, or someone that has a doubtful past, a questionable past. There's a reality. Some brothers are predators, unfortunately. Some sisters are predators, unfortunately. There are many Muslims who have accepted Islam. Alhamdulillah, Islam removes everything that came before it. But there are people before Islam that have major problems and issues. And those problems and issues didn't necessarily magically go away. It's a reality, whether we want to accept it or not. So therefore, there are basic rules according to schools of thought of the ulama of Islam. And then there's detailed judgment, which is a tailor-made garment. The man should take the children, but in this situation, I think they should stay with the mother. The man or the children should stay with the mother, but in this situation, they need to be with the father. So it depends. That's a summary of the issue of the ulama of Islam, and Allah knows best. Says, what is the definition of hizbiyah, deviance, and bid'ah? As far as hizbiyah, then it's a very interesting concept. And whenever we want to understand what a thing is, then we have to look at when the first time that thing was used. And who was the first person to use that term? And what atmosphere was the term used? What context was the term used? So, me personally, my humble knowledge, I would say that the term hizbi was first used in a political sense. A political sense. And I would say this term was used, and Allah knows best. I don't want to be inaccurate, but I would probably say, Allahu Alam, one could say in the 50s or the 60s, or in the 70s. Allahu Alam. And maybe it may have been used earlier than that. I would say that just off of what I know about the topic. And Allah knows best. In a political sense. So let's talk about the United States of America. How many political parties do we have? We have what? Two or what?
The Democrats.
And the Republicans. So the Democrats, they want the Democrats to win. On whatever level of politics it may be. The president, governor, senator, mayor, council, etc. And the Republicans are the opposite. Each group has its slogans. It has its virtues, and they also have their vices. Their ups and their downs. This is what we call to. This is what we promise. This is what we want to give if you vote for us. And oftentimes there is a smear campaign. And they slander each other. And they talk about each other. And they prove who deserves to get voted for. Is this not the case in the United States? And other countries, such as the Middle East or North Africa or other countries that are dominated by Muslims, you have different groups of people. You have the Islamic group. You have the Almaniyin, the people who are totally secular. And then you have the people who are a mixture of the Islamic group and a mixture of the secular group. And a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh and an eighth. And oftentimes people, they look for votes and they look for political influence through dawah and through Islam. So come with us. We offer Islamic scholarship. but you have to be loyal to us. Similar to what you asked. You want to marry the sister? You have to be loyal to us, and you must talk about this person. Vote for us, and we'll make a soup kitchen or a clinic in this poor village. But you have to vote for us. We know that this is a tactic that was adopted from the non-Muslims. And it goes back to the similar time era that I mentioned, the 50s and the 60s, the Cold War, in which there were people, there were Catholics, there were communists, there were atheists, there were different political groups and factions, all trying to win the people over and get them to vote for them and to support them. All right? So a hizb is a party. And if I'm not mistaken, the first time this term was used was talking about political parties within the ranks of Islam, calling the people to different things for their own political gain. And they would say that this person is a hizbi. He's calling the people to his political party to vote for him, to support him. We'll fund you, we'll build you a masjid, but you have to support our political party. Then, along those lines, this political sense or use of the term and the turbulent turmoil of the Middle East and Egypt and Yemen and Syria and Palestine and the Gulf, all of the political problems there, it mysteriously trickled to the West, in which we have Muslims that don't deal with politics, that don't use politics, that have nothing to do with a political party, and it became a convenient term and an easy way to call someone something that you want to get rid of. We have no points against you. We have no hardcore evidence against you, so the easy thing we can say is, you're a hizbi. What does that mean? They say Fulan is a hizbi, he's been refuted, a well-known hizbi. What made him a hizbi? They say he's calling people to himself and not to the scholars. Point one. He's calling people to his masjid and not to this masjid. He's calling people to this. The people support him, he has his own security team, he's this, he's that, so he's a hizbi. Maybe he is. So what does the Quran and Sunnah teach us? To call to the scholars, or to call to a graduate of the Islamic University of Medina, or to call to Allah? What does the Quran say? So hypothetically, we're both hizbis. You call to scholars, and I call to myself. We'll both go to the fire, you know. Because the Quran never says call to the scholars. And the Quran never says call to a da'iyah, or an imam, or a madhab. وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Allah says when they are invited to Allah and His Messenger. That's the only thing the Quran says. أُدْعُوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِ أَدْعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Call to Allah, the path of Allah, that's it. So they want to say, well, calling to the scholars is the path of Allah. And so is calling to a graduate of the Islamic University of Medina. He's teaching them too. There's no difference. You say that you can't sit with this person, you can't sit with this one, but you can only sit with the masjids that we mandate. Hypothetically speaking, you accusing me or this one of that, we're both what? Both of us are hizbis then. So it's hypocrisy. So it makes no sense. You restrict people, you tell people who they can like and dislike, who they can befriend and disassociate themselves. That's his being that you're calling the next man a hizbi. So that doesn't make any sense. Alright? The concept of a clique and a group in which there's no good except within this clique and within this group, that's Islamically wrong, because that's bias. كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Every group is happy and rejoices with what it has. We have the haqq, no one else. And you take 5 groups and 5 masjids, all of them say the same. They're all blameworthy. They're all blameworthy. So this is my masjid. These are the classes that I teach. If you want to come and teach a class, ahlan wa sahlan. When you do your class, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to warn the people from benefiting from you. You may have things that I don't have. You learn things that I didn't learn. You read things that I didn't read. Alhamdulillah. This is what the class that I'm doing, and that's it. But only come to my class. You cannot listen to this person. You cannot read from this person. You cannot sit with this person. You can only do this. You can only do that. What? You said, oh, Brother Fulan, you said this class? You're not getting married. You disagree with us on an issue? You can't give the khutbah here no more. What is that? That's a party, that's a group, that's a clique, a gang, or a cult, whatever name you choose to use. So in Islam, it's not important the name, but it's the content. It's the content. So the people, like many other terms and concepts, have abused this term. They've abused it. They've misunderstood it. They've outstretched it. They've stripped it down and washed it over and over again with bleach. There's no color left. And the term is just easy to say, here's a hizbi. Why can't I go to this masjid? They're hizbis. That's obviously, that isn't Islamic. Nor is that's not something in me. There's no scientific content to that statement. just calling someone a name. Alright? As far as deviance, that's simple. Anything that's against the Quran and Sunnah is deviation. It's just that simple. Anything that isn't the sirat of Allah is the sirat al-maghdubi alayhim al-dhalin. It's that simple. The path of Allah is clear and simple. Quran and Sunnah. And if it's not the Quran and the Sunnah, then it's misguidance. That's no difficult scholastic discussion needed on that terminology. When does a person become a deviant? What is the rule on calling someone a deviant? How many mistakes do you have to make to become a deviant? Obviously, that's where things become confusing. That's where things become confusing. Alright? And alhamdulillah, in this masjid and the other masjids, we have clearly exposed the hypocrisy of many people. Many people in their hypocritical ways, in which a person makes a mistake and is automatically marked off. In which they make a mistake and they say that you can't criticize us, you can't talk about us, you can't find faults in us. That's hypocritical. You can shoot me, but I can't shoot you back. That makes no sense. You're a tough guy and a bully. And the moment someone bloodies your nose, you cry and say, hey, that wasn't fair, that wasn't right. That's not right Islamically, nor from a street aspect. You claim to be tough, but when someone shoots a gun at you, you run and you hide. But you shoot at people all day long. So what sense and what fairness is that? You're deviant now because we found these mistakes. Clear. I found mistakes in your lectures and books too. You say you're attacking the Salafis and keep inquiring about Ahlul Bidah. But before you attacked me and refuted me, what was I? What was I? I was what? I was Salafi. And now I've become Ahlul Bidah through your refutation of me. So why can't I refute you now? So it's hypocrisy. It's not, that's clear. And anything which is hypocritical, obviously it's not al-Islam. As far as what is bid'ah, then bid'ah is an act of worship that was not legislated by Allah and His Messenger. It's something that you do to get closer to Allah that Allah never told you to do, specifically. And the Messenger of Allah never told you to do specifically. That's what a bid'ah is. And that's another mistake. And obviously these mistakes, they come from people who are not being educated. Islamically, nor in a secular sense. They're not educated people. They're not smart enough to understand. A person makes a mistake does not mean that it's a bid'ah. So the dalil that you're using said the Salaf never said wa'ahlul bid'ah, which is not an absolutely true statement, as we have proven in this masjid. We've proven that that's not absolutely true. I made a mistake. How does a mistake now become a what? A bid'ah. Something is wrong. You understand this? Something is clearly wrong now. How does a mistake in a lecture, or even a disrespect to a scholar, is that a bid'ah? So something is clearly wrong, right? We're abusing these terminologies because we don't have the proper education. We don't have the proper knowledge. And that's fine if you went overseas for a couple of years, or you went to school for a couple of years. Don't get in the way of those who have done their studies successfully. Everyone understand this? You should not get in the way. The one who says something is impossible or something cannot be done should not stand in the way of those who are doing it. Alright? So bid'ah, deviance, hizbiyah, they have their proper meanings and they have their improper meanings. They have their proper usages and have their improper usages. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all success. That's in brief. There's a very long discussion on bid'ah and the ins and outs of bid'ah. And what the ulama of Islam agree on and what they differ on regarding bid'ah. Moving forward, can we pray janazah for known open sinners, homosexuals, drinkers, criminals, etc.? Yes and no. The yes part is they're still Muslims. They're still Muslims, no matter how sinful they are. The no part is their janazah should not be public. The janazah should not be public. And if it is public, the leader should not pray over them. The role model should not pray over them. The Prophet ﷺ, we know sometimes he wouldn't pray over those who had debts. Another hadith teach us he wouldn't pray over the one who made suicide. He wouldn't pray over these people. Not saying they were kuffar, but to hinder the people from doing such heinous acts. He's a Muslim, but I'm not going to pray over him. Because the people, they may take it for granted. I can just do whatever I want and they'll still pray over me. 50,000 people come to my janazah. No. You have a small, secluded janazah, 40 brothers. That's it. May Allah forgive you. That's it. Khalas. A public display? No. That should not be done. Or people who are open, wicked, evildoers. A sinner, someone has a mistake, that's one thing. We're all sinners. We all have shortcomings. But I'm talking about a bad person that's well known to be an evildoer. That's a different story. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Is it permissible to have an all-female masjid? If so, who would have to give the khutbah? The khutbah, the khatib, and the imam has to be a male. Cannot be a female. A female is not allowed to lead the people in the total congregational prayer, the absolute congregation, the Jumu'ah. La. Women can pray by themselves in congregation, but they're not allowed to have their own Jumu'ah. That's invalid. A woman cannot be a khatib. That's invalid. She can give a speech, she can give a hawqa, a ta'lim, a bayan, whatever word you want to use. A sister circle, tayyib. She can be a teacher, but not the formal khutbah. A woman cannot be an imam in the religion of Islam for several reasons. Several reasons. Alright, so that's invalid. What is the difference of opinion about picture taking? We've explained that in detail, in much length, regarding what the scholars of Islam say about taking pictures. To keep things brief, if you're going to take pictures, and if you believe it's permissible, then make sure you do it and you don't become a victim of picture taking. Make sure that you're not too vain. Selfies every 5 seconds. And make sure that you're taking the picture and you're covered properly. Unless it's a picture for your husband or your sister or someone. Make sure you're responsible when you take pictures. Okay? Make sure you're responsible when you look at someone else's pictures. And don't spend all of your time taking pictures. Alright? If you're going to take those pictures. And obviously we know those ulama say that pictures are haram and videos are haram. That's a very long discussion among ulama of Islam. If you want a detailed breakdown of it, go to Hadith Disciple. The video is called A Brief Discussion of the Ruling of Tasweer. The ruling of Tasweer. If you're a layman, how can you decide what's the best course of action when it is an issue scholars differ over? The ulama of Islam, they have a cliche that says, لا بد للعامي أن يجتهد ولا بد للعالم أو للعالم أن يقلد. They say that there has to come a time in which a layman is independent. And there has to come a time in which a scholar blindly follows. There's going to come a time, not every day, not every issue, not every 5 seconds, but there's going to come a jam, a tight situation, lack of time, an emergency in which you're going to have to make the decision yourself. And there's going to come a time, an emergency, a jam, lack of time, in which the alim may have to just say, this is what Imam Ahmed said. He may not have the time to go back and research and do his own independent ruling on it. Everyone understand this? So even in picking a scholar and who you should listen to and benefit from, you have to make your own ijtihad. You have to use some common sense. You have to use some basic Islamic principles. Well, I'm looking at the speaker. He has a beard, he has a sajda mark, he has a kufi. That doesn't mean he's knowledgeable, but that's, inshallah, a sign towards the right direction. Hopefully. I know that he speaks Arabic. I'm watching him speak, talk. I don't know Arabic that well. I really know, but I know enough to determine that someone's speaking Spanish fluently. I don't speak Spanish, but I know someone who says, como esta, hola, and so, this person is fluent in Spanish. I can see how comfortable he is when he talks Spanish. And I see when he talks Arabic, how easy it is. And it's another speaker, he's stuttering, he's reading, he's sweating. And everything he says is coming off a piece of paper. As a layman Muslim, I know for sure, hypothetically speaking, he's sharper than that one. He's sharper than that one. I hear this talk, Bukhari, the Muslim, Bukhari, Muslim, Bukhari, Muslim, Bukhari, Muslim, Bukhari, Muslim. And I hear this talk for 50 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, nothing but Sheikh Fulan, this scholar, that scholar, this scholar, scholar. This is not being funny or making a joke. It's a realistic issue. I'm not mocking anyone. You may listen to a talk for 30 minutes and hear the word scholar mentioned 100 times. 100 times. Something is wrong now. All right? The sources that you're just quoting from, something isn't adding up. These are just examples. So there are certain principles that you can use as a layman Muslim to determine who you should and shouldn't listen to. More important than all of this is sincerity, is being sincere and being honest. And Allah guiding you or protecting you through your sincerity. And this is where we benefit from the story of Salman al-Farisi, in which he was sincere. He left his father's home. He went in search of the Jews, the Christians, this one, the Zoroastrians. He was a Zoroastrian, etc. And then he found the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he didn't have that much knowledge, but he was sincere. He was honest. So you may benefit from someone who is a deviant. And they're all upon bid'ah. And they may not have Islamic knowledge. But if you're sincere, then you have a chance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like the man in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, the famous narration of Abu Hurairah, when he was about to die, he told his sons, he asked his sons, he says, what type of father was I? They said, you were the best father that we knew. He said, so will you obey me if I give you some instructions? He said, of course, father. He says, when I die, burn my body, cremate me, and take my urn, and take my ashes, and throw them, and toss them, and scatter them. In this direction when it's windy, that direction when it's windy, and put some of it in the water. The hadith says, that the man says, he swore by Allah. He says, لَإِنَّ قَدَرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ. If Allah has the ability to punish me, He will punish me like He's punished no one else. Because He was a great sinner. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, obviously, He told the sea, bring him back. He told the winds and the earth, bring him back. And of course they obeyed immediately. And he was brought back, resurrected. And He says, what caused you to do what you did? In other words, why are you so stupid? You think I can't bring you back to life because you scatter your ashes? The man, he says, خَشْيَتُكَ وَأَنْتَ أَعْلَمُ. He says, you know best. Look at this slave who's an ignorant slave. And he's a sinful slave, but he still knew his place. He says, I did this because I was afraid of you, but you know best. Allahu Akbar. He told Allah that you know the true reason why I did it, but I was scared. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He forgave him of his sins. How many major sins did he commit? Cremating the body, getting his sons to cremate the body. And he doubted Allah's power. He doubted the power of Allah, which is kufr, to doubt Allah. But Allah forgave him for one reason only, and that's because he was what? He was sincere. He really didn't want to get punished by Allah. So the first principle is to be sincere. And many of us, Allah knows best if we're actually sincere. Do you really want to benefit, or just want to be a part of a clique and a club and a group and be seen and noticed to get a wife? Or to get noticed? Oh, that's brother Fulan. He sits with Fulan. Fulan knows me. I know him. He knows me. I was over his house. Or we visited Sheikh Fulan. We visited brother Fulan. What knowledge did you get that night? What did you benefit from him that night? What real hardcore ilm did you get? You didn't get nothing. So oftentimes we have to check our sincerity. Seeking knowledge is not a club. It's not a party. It's not a fan club. Seeking knowledge is hard and painful. And it takes sabr. So you have to check your sincerity. You have to use basic common sense. And you have to have basic Islamic fundamental knowledge. And then be in the night ta'ala, go with whom you trust. Whom you feel right with. This person may be wrong. But I know in my heart I feel good. I left the class, I feel inspired. Well, how can I? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Next question says, what does it mean when a hadith is used but it is weak? Exactly what it means. Hadith is being used but it's weak. It's a weak hadith scientifically. It hasn't met the grade of authenticity, but it still can be used. Pertaining to the grave, or zuhud, or dhikr of Allah, or halal, or haram, whatever it's being used for. Alright? The problem comes in when we have been taught that a weak hadith is absolutely useless. It's of no value. We've been taught that, now we have that problematic issue. And that's not necessarily accurate. That a weak hadith has no value. Alright? And Allah knows best. We've explained that. If you want more explanation, please go to the virtue of the knowledge of the pious predecessors over the knowledge of the later generations. Hadith disciples can play this. Fadl al-ilm al-salafi ala ilm al-khalaf. We've explained that issue in detail. The difference between ghusl after sex and ghusl after mince. Same ghusl. There's no difference. Obviously you make an intention to pray, and obviously you make an intention also to pray. And that's because menstruation and janaba is both hadith akbar, major ritual impurity. Major what? Ritual impurity. So it's the same type of ghusl. It's the same type of ghusl. I'm a mother of a special needs child with autism. One of his behaviors are that he runs back and forth daily. He also has sudden outbursts. How can I attend the masjid and be amongst the sisters if he cannot control his actions? If he only sees his father on weekends. You don't have to take him to the masjid every single time. And when you do take him to the masjid, tell the sisters, explain to the sisters. I don't think that any sisters want to make a problem out of this. They know the situation. They know he has an issue. They'll be patient in the ta'ala. Try your best to keep him from disturbing the class and disturbing the khutbah. But everyone has to have sabr. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not tell women to stay home who had children that were crying. Rather, the hadith tells us that he would shorten the prayer because he was afraid of a mother being distracted by the child crying. So it's nothing wrong with bringing someone to the masjid who isn't a normal brother or sister that can just sit still and listen. Some brothers have short attention spans. Grown men, they can't sit still. They can't sit in the class for 5 minutes. So in the nighttime, be patient. The sisters should be patient. The imam should be patient. Me personally, I've dealt with all types of people in the masjid before. All types of people. With all types of mental issues, physical issues, all types of things. You have to have sabr. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. What do you say in the first takbir in the janazah salah? Do you start it off like you start standing your regular prayer? Start off with the Fatiha. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. For someone that has to take medication during Ramadan, how do the person feed? Do they one day at a time, or can they feed 30 people at one time? If your issue is chronic, then you feed. If it isn't chronic, then you make it up. If you have a chronic terminal illness that's going to keep reoccurring, then you feed. As far as if you're just sick for 20 days or sick for 6 months, you broke your leg, you have to take painkiller, then you have to make up that Ramadan. As far as how to feed, then it's optional. You can do one person at a time, you can feed 30 people all at once. As long as there are people that are valid to be fed. Alright? So let's say there's a shelter, a Muslim shelter, a Muslim orphanage, or students of knowledge overseas in Medina. You call your brother, let you know, Assalamu alaikum, I'm sending you $300. I want you to feed 90 brothers. I want you to throw a banquet for all of the students that don't have money. Or take the money to the poor neighborhoods in Medina. Why get that? There's nothing wrong with that. And Allah knows best. I use the compass on my phone, but the way it's telling me to pray is still dark on that side. But to the other side, it's light. Can you give me some info on this in Fajr? Well, it seems as if there's 2 issues here. Direction and time. Direction and time. Direction is one thing, time is another. If this is the direction of the Qibla, it doesn't matter what's dark or light. This is the direction in which you pray. You can make Fajr at 7 a.m. The sun has risen, you've overslept, but that's still the direction. And you can make Fajr when it's dark or light, depending on what time, what type of darkness and light, and it can be the wrong direction. So there are 2 different issues that we have here. 2 different issues that we have here, all right? The compass is made for the direction. Northeast, southeast, whatever your direction may be. And the prayer time is different. But in general, we have to understand that we live in a city. And everything that the Prophet did is not like how we do it. We have lights, we have buildings, we have electricity, we have airports. All of these things have an effect on the horizon and sunlight and daylight. Alright? Years ago, brothers asked a question about Salat al-Maghrib. We can't see the sun anymore. The sun is behind a mountain. Does that mean it's time for Maghrib? Not necessarily. The sun is still up. It's just hidden from you. So it depends on what you mean. What are you looking for by using a compass? And Allah knows that's further down.
So I'm in the field, like say a person is in the field of Quran, and he wants to study like different riwayah. Somebody discourages them by saying people only study different qira'ah so they can say they have a different qira'ah. Should the person stop or should it continue?
The question says, with regards to in the field of the Quran al-Kareem, learning it and memorizing it, I've been discouraged not to learn more than one qira'ah, more than one mode of recitation. And the reason behind that discouragement was people only learn this so they can show off. I know 3 modes. I know Hafs, I know Welsh, I know this, I know that. Is that true? And what do you agree on that? Etc. I disagree, but I agree at the same time. I disagree that you specialize in something, and if something is your field, that's your passion, and that's what you want to do, then you should learn everything that you possibly can about it. If you want to specialize in the Quran and study the Quran, learn everything, if you can. If you have enough time, if you're smart enough, if you're hard working enough, why not? Bismillah. Take all of it. Be as greedy as you can. As the Prophet ﷺ informs us about the two types of greedy people. And one of those is the one who seeks knowledge. The Prophet says that he would never fill his belly. Knowledge is supposed to be greedy. There is no, I got it, I've learned enough. No, I want more and more and more and more and more. And that's the beauty of knowledge, all right? So I disagree from that aspect and from that angle. Do I agree that there's a lot of pride and conceit in knowledge in general? Of course there is. And I would be hypocritical if I said that there wasn't. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of pride in knowledge. And there's conceit in knowledge. There's arrogance in knowledge. And there's arrogance and pride and conceit in seeking knowledge of the Quran as well. But everyone is guilty of it. There are people who recite the Quran, and there are people who know hadiths and fiqh and other things, and they also stick out their chest. So it can happen to anybody. If you're sincere, and if you're honestly, you want to learn it because it's the book of Allah, and it's looking after the book of Allah, then do it, and do not listen to someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. I don't know the person who told you this, but I would probably say, and Allah knows best, my gut feeling would tell me the person who said this statement probably hasn't mastered the Quran himself. And if he has, he only mastered one riwayah. So why get in the way of someone who's trying to be better and trying to aspire to be better? All right? So the most important principle of seeking ilm is never listen to naysayers. Don't ever listen to someone who says, oh no, you shouldn't go overseas. Oh no, you should work. Oh no, you should do this. Don't go there. Don't study there. Don't listen to those people. Because in most cases, they're trying to keep themselves from further embarrassment. You're younger than me. You're smarter than me. If you go over and learn more, you're going to do what? You're going to embarrass me. You're going to make me look stupid and dumb. I'm twice your age, and I haven't learned anything that you've learned in 3 months. So therefore, I want to stunt your growth. That's evil. And many brothers fall victim to this. And Allah knows best. AA from Miami, Florida. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How do scholars determine when part of a hadith is weak while the rest is authentic? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's just like fiqh. It depends on what school of thought you're on. You with the modern day scholars, the later day scholars, or the early scholars. Different madhahib, different schools of hadith. Alright? Different schools of hadith. The golden principle among the early ulama, as Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentioned, وَلَيْسَ لِذَلِكَ وَلَيْسَ عِنْدَهُمْ أَوْ ضَابِطٌ يَضْبِطُهُ. He says, لِكُلِّ حَدِيثٍ ذَوْقُهُ. Every single hadith has its own taste. There are general principles, yes. There are general principles. But every hadith is dealt with specifically and individually. So there may be a hadith here in which this isnad is weak, the method could be correct, or vice versa. Vice versa. There may be a hadith in which there are other hadiths which support its general meaning. But it may be one wording which is a mistake. One part that is no other supporting evidence in the Quran and Sunnah to prove that it's valid. Alright? And the concept of taking one hadith and slicing it into 5 pieces and using 10 hadiths to support each of those 5 pieces, and then it says Hasan li ghayrihi, that's not necessarily from the original way of the early ulama of hadith. And Allah knows best. Question is NH from Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum. Is it okay to read the Quran in pajamas, sleepwear while in bed? I'm asking because it is recommended to read Surah Mulk before sleeping, and I was listening to your khutbah on. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The Quran should be given the utmost respect. It should be given the utmost respect. With time, place, which wear, etc. But that does not mean that a specific rule that Allah and His Messenger did not mandate, we now make up and mandate. Giving the Quran respect, no one differs on that. But that doesn't mean that I can't read it without wudu, because that's a specific dalil that's needed for that. To give the Quran respect, no doubt, that doesn't mean that you can't recite the Quran and you're laying in the bed. To give the Quran respect, no doubt, that doesn't mean that you can't wear it unless you're wearing a full garment. It doesn't mean that. It does not mean that. Especially in 2019, in which you have the Quran or the Mus'haf on your tablet, and you read it before you go to sleep, and you have your pajamas. There's nothing wrong with that. Be hidden in that ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Question is AZ, London. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. How can one reach the level where anything that befalls them, they are content with it and even pleased with it? May Allah bless you as well. I believe we've answered this question the other night, but we'll answer it again. Ask Allah for it. Ask Allah. What's Allah? Fadlihi. Ask Allah from His bounty. Oh Allah, make me pleased with your qadr. Make me pleased with what you have decreed upon me, like Salat al-Istikhara. The Hadith clearly states that you ask Allah to make you pleased with what He has made easy for you. To make it easy for you and to make you pleased with it. Ask Allah for it. Secondly is that you have to try. Practice makes perfect. وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. The Prophet ﷺ says, he who practices sabr, Allah will make him sabr. You have to practice. It's not easy. So every time something happens to you, try to suppress. Try to calm down. Take a deep breath. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Put a smile on your face. Force yourself. But it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. That's a high level of iman. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. The last part of the question was the last two verses of Surah Baqarah. Birmingham, in from Birmingham, UK. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah elevate your mention. Why is it said that Egypt is better for learning Arabic? I don't know. I don't know why people say that. People say all types of things. Say Egypt is better to learn the Quran, Medina is better to learn this, Yemen is better to learn that, etc., etc., etc. We've explained our position on this, and that's the golden Hadith disciple principle. It's not the move, but it is the movement. It's not the move, but it's the movement. It's not the technique, but it's how you yourself apply the technique. You can study in Syria, South Africa, West Africa, Egypt, Malaysia, wherever you go. If you are sincere, if you are hard working, if you are talented, if you put in the necessary time, and you have at least one good teacher, you can be something special. You can be better studying in the United States than someone who went to Medina. And I know brothers that are like that. I know brothers that studied in jail. Brothers that taught themselves that are smarter and more hardworking and better speakers than people who graduated from overseas. Allah gives His bounty to whom He wills. Because it ain't the move, but it's the what? It's the movement. You sitting with this scholar doesn't make you a good student. You sitting by yourself with a book doesn't make you a bad student. But of course, if you're sincere, hardworking, put in the necessary time, and you're in a better environment, and you have access to bigger and better things, then hypothetically you should be better. Okay? So perhaps people say that it's best to study Arabic in Egypt because Egypt is famous, it's renowned. Al-Azhar al-Sharif. How long has that university been there? How many great, illustrious scholars came from that university, regardless of what's going on right now, and how it has changed. There's always going to be remnants, and there's always going to be residue. And if something was strong from the beginning, the leftovers are going to be better than most things that are available today. Everyone understand this? The leftovers are going to be better than your main course meal. Everyone understand this? We can make cultural references to this if you guys want. Cultural references to this principle. That what this person did in this year and made is better than the stuff that's out today. And that's outdated and old-fashioned. Everyone understand this? Look at products, for example. A pot. A pot that was made in the 50s is nothing like a pot that was made in 2018. You guys agree with this? A skillet, a frying pan. You buy a die-cast, an iron frying pan. Today, it's not like the one that your grandmother had. It's not the same. And that's old. How much pork did she cook on that grill? Huh? This is reality. To be real. It's better than the stuff that you get in the store on Amazon today. And that's the remnants of that age. You understand this? So there's always going to be good in Egypt. And there's always going to be good in Medina and this place and that place. There's always going to be some good. Alright? So what's important is worry about you benefiting and you studying. And the last piece of advice, and this is something that I learned when I was overseas, is never compare yourself to others. Don't worry about what they're doing in Kuwait and Saudi and Yemen. You worry about benefiting where you are. There are many brothers that all they would do talk about day and night the match. This is what they do in the match. And I heard her, but what are you doing in Medina right now? What are you doing with yourself in the time that you have? Don't worry about them. You focus on you. You strengthen yourself. And Allah knows best. Next question says, WB from Overland Park, Kansas. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. May Allah grant you Jannah to Firdaus. How do I go about giving dawah to my non-Muslim family? Whenever I try, they say, don't judge me. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ameen, and you as well. You gotta be smart. Like Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was smart. And even if they didn't accept the message of Ibrahim, he clearly won the game. And he established the proof on them. He smashed the idols, he broke the idols, and he put the axe on the biggest idol. And he did that after he lied to them and said what he said, to stay behind and to smash those idols. And when they were shocked and traumatized by their sacred deities and those representations of their gods being broken and desecrated, he said the big one did it. He outwitted them. He outsmarted them. So you have to outwit and outsmart the non-Muslim family members that you're trying to call to Islam. Don't make a frontal attack. That's a military axiom. Never a frontal attack. You outflank them. I'm not judging you. God is judging us both. I didn't leave the religion of my forefathers. Why are you looking like an Arab, an Arab? You don't come to the church. You don't come for Thanksgiving. No problem. Our ancestors that came to America were Muslims. And this is the proof. Jallo was his last name when he came as a slave from Guinea or Gambia or Senegal. And Christianity, the cross, the Bible, swine, and all these things were forced upon them. So you left the ways of the ancestors. I'm going back to the original family roots. Then what? What do they want to say? You have to outsmart them with ilm, with knowledge, with wit. Everyone understand this? So when they try to force you into this argument and that argument, you avoid it. And the wise combatant, as the great one said, he fights on his own terms. And he imposes his will on his opponent, and he never allows his opponent to impose his will on him. They want to discuss this? No, we don't have to talk about it. Let's not talk about niqab or polygamy or why don't we. Let's talk about the Trinity. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jesus. If Jesus was alive today, mother, who would he look like? Or father, would he look like me with a beard and a white robe on? Or would he look like you with pants and a shaven face? Just as a hypothetical example of outwitting them on their own terms. Everyone understand this? It's extremely useful. And Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. Assalamu alaikum. AS from Watford, UK. Could you please give an insight to certain careers a Muslim could aspire to pursue? That's too difficult. Because there's no limit on the careers that you can pursue. The haram things in Islam are limited. And the halal things are unlimited. When the Prophet ﷺ was asked what a pilgrim should wear, he never answered the question what a pilgrim should wear. He never answered the man's question. He told the man the things that a pilgrim should not wear. A pilgrim can't wear this, can't wear that, can't. I.e., anything that doesn't fall under those prohibited things, the pilgrim is allowed to what? Wear. So the haram things are limited, and the halal things, there's no cap on them. So you can be whatever you want to be, as long as it doesn't fall under something clearly haram. Everyone understand this? So that's first and foremost. And there's a huge difference when you look at it like that versus half full or half empty. It's a huge difference. The cup is half empty. I say it's half full. It's going to be full. You're saying that it's going to be empty. It's a difference how you look at life. So the halal is limitless. The haram is limited. That negative mindset has an effect on you. You can't be this, you can't do this, you can't. Nah. You can be whatever you want to be, son. Inshallah, as long as you don't displease Allah Azza wa Jalla. Secondly is, there are certain things, careers and jobs which are lawful, but they include unlawful elements. They include unlawful elements. So an example of this being a doctor. It's permissible to be a doctor. It's a good thing to be a doctor. Sometimes it's obligatory for you to be a doctor. But there are haram elements, such as you not making salat on time. You missing 3 salats in a row. Or you shake the hand of a woman that's not your sister or wife. Why could that? And that applies to being a taxi driver as well. That applies to being a taxi driver as well. What's important is that the Muslims, they need, good to see you, Sheikh. The Muslims need, walaikum salam, Muslims need professionals. And Muslims need tough guys and hustlers and bustlers, white collar, blue collar. Muslims need all professions. We need everything. There is no successful community if everyone's just a scholar. There's no successful community if everyone's an engineer or a lawyer. It's not true. The hospital itself proves that this is a clear mistake, because the hospital has security, and the hospital has parking, and the hospital has a cafeteria, and the hospital has a gift shop, and the hospital has janitorial services, and the hospital has things being built and made and constructed. The doctor, can he be the security guard? Can he cook the food? Can he design the gift shop? Can the doctor wax the floors? Can the doctor cut on the electricity for the machine to work? So Muslims who are narrow-minded, you can only be one thing. You can only do one thing. Only be an engineer. It's not true. So it is no just one thing. What's important is that it's halal and it's something that the child wants to do and they're happy with it. He can feed his family. My son, you want to be a plumber? I'm going to do that. As long as you're happy, as long as it's halal, you take care of your wife and your children, what's the problem? You want to be a doctor, you want to be a scholar, you want to be a best. Do what you want to do, as long as it's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What I want you to do, I would prefer for you to be this. I would like for you to follow my footsteps. But I'm not forcing you to do that. And Allah knows best. Next question says, AA for Birmingham, UK. If a sister is looking to get married, a brother who's a daddy, what question should she consider asking as you hear keel or call from others about daddy? He's studying. The Prophet ﷺ, he forbade gossip, and he forbade people spreading rumors. He forbade these things. If you have doubt, then ask the question. Whether you ask the question directly or whether you ask it indirectly. If you're afraid that someone's going to lie to you or not give you the information or not the truth, then you have to use more wisdom, as we said. You have to outflank them. So sometimes you have to look at a sit down like a debate. Look at it like a debate, right? An inexperienced debater has his argument laid out. He has his attack laid out, and he has his defense laid out. I'm going to say this, I'm going to do this, he's going to ask me this, kada. And as long as everything goes as planned accordingly, he can win the debate. But the moment he's asked a question that he did not prepare for, or he didn't think about, or he never knew existed, what's going to happen to his argument? He's going to be what? In serious trouble. Right or wrong? Because I don't have nothing prepared for it. Or I was expecting for you to ask me the question like this and not like that. Everyone understand this? And you will see the true level of knowledge of that debater. So that's a sit down. If you want to know someone, you want to ask, do you listen to music? I don't want to marry a husband that listens to music. I want to marry a sister that listens to music. The ready-made answer is what? What's the ready-made answer? It's haram. Of course it's haram. La. That's the ready-made answer that they've prepared and they've rehearsed for that answer. But if you ask them, what's your favorite song by such and such? You may get a stutter or it's haram. You got your answer now. Everyone understand this? You may bring a rumor up that you've heard, mention a location. So what happened when you were in this town? Did you really do this to the sister that many times? He may stutter, he may look up, he may look to the right or the left. Now you know that there's some validity to that what? To that rumor. Everyone understand this? But if you say, do you abuse women? Do you sleep with women because you're a scholar or a daddy? Of course not. Astaghfirullah, it's haram. Because that's a ready-made answer for a ready-made question. Everyone understand this? So you have to use tact. Everyone understand what I'm trying to get to? So if you want to, if you want to get to the truth and the depth and the end of things, and sometimes you got to be a little wise and a little witty. What's important is seek the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make the istikhara, and seek the counsel of wise and experienced people. Just because a brother's a da'iyah doesn't mean he's a good husband for you. Don't ever forget that. And the advice that I gave to one of my friends in Canada a couple of days ago about marrying a sister. And I said, make sure that you tell the sister and you explain to the sister and you stipulate on the sister what your lifestyle is like. That you're going overseas back and forth to Egypt and to Medina. And that's because most women, when they marry a brother who's a da'iyah, and Allah knows best, from my experiences dealing with people, they're only marrying a brother because of the brother and not because of his knowledge. She's marrying you because you dress nice, and you're handsome, and you're funny, and you can provide the basic needs for her. But is she really marrying you for who you are as a da'iyah? And not just status, but as your personality, your character, your behavior. There are many sisters like this, but in my humble opinion, they're the minority. They're the minority. And the proof of that is, how much knowledge does your wife actually benefit from you? How much studying does she actually do with you? Or does she complain when you're reading and studying and teaching, instead of she's learning and benefiting from you? Everyone understand this? So just because someone has knowledge and they're famous and popular, it doesn't mean that they're a good husband for you. It doesn't mean that they're a good husband. They may be a bad husband. It doesn't mean he's a bad person, but it's just a lack of chemistry. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ would say, Barakallahu lak, wa baraka alayka, wa jama baynakuma bi khayrin. He says, may Allah bring you together in harmony. Because you can be a pious, righteous person, but it doesn't mean there's going to be what? Harmony. And that's what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ told that woman who complained about her husband. She says, I have no problem with his deen or his character. What's there left? His deen and his character are both excellent, immaculate, but it's just not for me. The Prophet, he didn't get into it. He says, give him back the dowry, class. So make sure that the brother is appropriate for you, your situation, and your lifestyle. He may travel a lot. He may not be able to deal with that. He may have women contacting him and talking with him. You may not be able to deal with that. You may not have that much money. You may not be able to what? Deal with that. It may be long hours of him teaching classes. You may not be able to what? Deal with that. So be mindful. Allah surely knows best. I believe it's time for me to end now. We'll take the intermission for Salat al-Asr. Wa jazakumullahu khairan.